Yes, it is that time. It's Wednesday. It's noon. It is time for the High Noon Hemp Show. Of course, we're live in many places. You're watching us right now or later on demand. Hemptations Beach Facebook page. You can find us there, of course, the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel, and at Hemptations on Twitter. Of course, audio as well, the audio podcast, Podbean, Google Play, iHeartRadio. Many places, whether you like video or audio, there's no excuse to find this show. I am Joe Clare. He is Beach. We have our 15-mile social distancing buffer zone we've had since the beginning of the show. How are
That's right.
things in Hemptations land, Beach?
I would say that they are reasonably not too stressed these days. I don't know. It's just I don't know how to describe the world around
It's a
us,
weird time.
especially in Hemptations land. But I am high above the hemp quarters, in the hemp quarters. Uh, in Sharonville, and we're chugging along. Again, we are abiding by all the rules, still staying clean. I feel like there's a little bit of this laxation in the rest of the world. I mean, I hear about places like Walmart and some of these other big box places that I don't think I'm trying to minimize things. And so it's easy for us. I think we are seeing a little bit of more people that may not need to be coming out, and so but we're getting through this whole thing just like everybody else. I will say, it's true. It is one bizarre time in this world
Yeah.
to be a human. There is no doubt. And the hemp world is no different. Probably going to have a short show this week because there's just nothing going on in the
Yeah.
world, and so there's nothing to talk about. And so I might do a little bit more rambling on today's show, not specifically. Although I did find a couple questions. When I was looking through my normal news feeds and whatnot, a couple articles actually had questions for headlines. I didn't read them, but I did steal the questions, and so that'll give me something maybe to talk about a little bit at the end of the show to drag the High Noon Hemp Show out. Hello, everyone. It is High Noon. It is Wednesday. We are here. You are there. I hope you are safe and able to get through this whole thing reasonably sane. Um, and so I know there is a lot of insanity, and there's nothing like pent up insanity. It's like you're stuck inside and you're going insane. It's like, I mean, that's why bars were invented, I think, in all honesty. I mean, that's why movies and social life and all restaurants for that matter. And so I think we're all kind of feeling it. And, for me, I know that I am an introvert. This world is made for me. I don't never went out before. But I can understand how the rest of the world is not like that as well, and so getting through it the best we can. That is for sure. Reminder to everybody out there: you got a couple weeks if you're going to grow in Ohio. You got to get your hemp license in, or if you are going to process in Ohio. To be clear. Get your hemp license in by May 1st. We're coming up on that. And so it's going to be a good year to be a farmer, just as far as a job goes, because, you don't have to worry about social distancing in the middle of a field.
Yeah.
If you do, then that's a good problem. Everybody gets their own plant. They're still 6 feet apart. I think that's how it's being grown for CBD. Maybe not for grain or fiber. They're closer together, but if you're growing for CBD, and most people are, those plants are 6 feet of, social distance those plants. Then you won't have to worry about your employees, I suppose. We're going to jump right into the product spotlight. 4 from the store, 1 from my door, as we like to say. I'm trying to stay coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, the new pandemic, friendly with the products that I show on the show as well. So we have a couple food products first, the beef dogs. And again, if you are not a vegetarian, these are absolutely delicious. They come in a 6-pack or a 4-pack, depending on how big you want your hemp dog, your beef dog to be with hemp. But they also have pork in them, and so not vegetarian, vegan friendly, but absolutely delicious if you are a meat eater. And there's a lot of protein there. And again, we're not getting, if you know, I think more people are actually getting out and walking. I see a lot more people walking
Yeah.
than normal. And so, if that's what you're choosing to do, you still need to keep your protein up. And so come on in. If you come in for some essential items, grab yourself a pack of beef dogs, maybe some hemp seeds. The next one is actually the Hemp Yeah Manitoba hemp snacks. And not only are these good, as far as protein goes and whatnot, but they taste delicious. I can tell you, they are absolutely delicious. I really like the honey and oats. If I get a little sweet tooth, then I might have some dark chocolate. And not that they're not all sweet. I don't know if I've actually tried the blueberry, but I will tell you the honey and oats is delicious, and the dark chocolate is very good. It's tough, you got to almost limit how much you eat. It's one of those things, like, don't sit down thinking you should eat the whole bag, but once you start, it's kind of tough to stop. Good stuff. The Hemp Yeah Manitoba granola mixes. The next two I've got, the next one, which is the hats. I just saw an article, and they're saying that we are now in the personal care phase of what products are starting to sell out in shops. And so, but hair dye and hair clippers are two of the items that I saw now people are really needing because they're at home. They're not, women's salons are closed. If you dye your hair, men or women, I'm not trying to judge. Then if you want to keep up with that, and even, men, like they like their hair, they don't like their hair getting long. So the clippers, I can see working out there. And so the hats, I just say, hey, just put on a hat like I do. Then you don't have to worry about it. You can't tell that my gray hair dye is coming out of my hair if I wear a hat as much.
There you go.
And so, trying to hide that luscious brown. I love it. I joke because my beard went gray first, and my hair is not turning gray yet. So I wear a hat every day. And the last one is gloves. And if you're trying to be more safe, then sorry when you out as far as touching things. These are cloth gloves, so you could wear them and then wash them, rinse them out. It's kind of a reusable idea when it would come. And of course, I do want to be clear that even with the hemp masks that we're making, any of the fiber masks, those aren't N95 rated or KN95 or they have a rating at all. The mask that you wear is not necessarily even to protect you, is to protect other people if you have it or you have something. That's why a lot of the Asians use it. It's not really a defense as much as it keeps things from spreading if you personally have it. I know the masks are still a tough sell in the United States. And again, it's just a better than nothing type of thing. I think I saw somewhere that one layer is 30% blockage and on and on and on. Unless it's a particular weave or synthetic fabric. And so, just to be clear, and that's why I'm saying with the gloves, it's not really going to it's not 100% thing, but it is something to keep you from getting it on your hands. Again, if you wear your gloves out and then you wash your gloves, keep your hands clean, blah, 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 and the key is really keep your hands clean. I should have done soap again this week because that's really it. And, obviously don't be near people. And so we continue on with our COVID-19 product from the store. Now, the one from my door, This is, part of the museum. If I go out, when I educate, um, but I've had this piece of concrete now for probably, it could be going on 20 years. Um, I acquired this from a gentleman who was running around the United States with hemp fiber, or the hemp herd, which you can see kind of in that mix. They call it herd. You could call it shiv, I believe, as well. Um, but he just had this sample, and he left me a big bag of this, and I've been carrying this around with me forever. In the hemp world, showing it off, and people pick it up and they're like, "Man, they can't believe how light it is." And again, it just, when they see that you can, and this has been happening for 20 years, that you can actually build with hemp as a material, it is unbelievable how people react to that, as to the questions or the ideas, and how they would love to do. We're seeing it slowly and slowly. More architectural projects across the United States and the world, and some of the other world has been doing it forever. The Europeans have been building with hemp for a long time. Once again, we're kind of slow to this because we're getting back to it, and we haven't ever used it for those materials here. When we used it in the United States before, it was mostly fiber, period. That's why everybody thinks of hemp rope when they think of hemp, because that is what we grew. Probably 90% of the hemp in the United States up to 1937. That was the whole reason I wanted to get back into this, was for the fiber, because now we were, we're seeing in clothing and those type of things. And of course, now it's mostly CBD. So I am still continuing to encourage people to possibly, or hopefully, get into the fiber part of the industrial hair. And I may do that myself if Ohio lifts the ridiculous amount of licensing fees that I would have to pay just to grow for fiber, where I'm not going to make much money out of it. Maybe. And so we'll look into it. But hopefully soon enough, more and more people, bigger companies in states that are not so ridiculous as to how they're trying to charge people to grow this agricultural crop. That's all it is. It's just a commodity like all the other agricultural crops right now. We definitely, we'll see it in those states, but we won't see it in states like Ohio, because they just wouldn't pay it. They could go out to Wisconsin, or who knows, out there where it's vast land, and they're not so heavy-handed with the permits and the licensings. And then we will also start seeing it in more construction material as well. Although we could take, even if they're growing for CBD, that biomass that they have left over, the stalks, this is part of the stalks. That's short fiber. That's still the bast, the herd, the shiv, however you want to call it in the world. And so that still has value for that stuff. And a lot of that's just getting disposed of, unfortunately. It's just, and so that's, we need to be using that as well for these things more and more. So there you have it. There's the product spotlight. 4 from the store, 1 from my door.
Indeed.
And everybody's got to get dressed. So
Absolutely. First, Stacy checking in the Facebook chat area, saying, "Hempy, happy belated birthday to Beach." Indeed.
Thank you very much, Stacy, for bringing that up. It is between last week's show and this week's show. I did, in fact, celebrate a birthday, and so
Yes, so if Beach looks a year older, that is why.
That's right.
And yes, for those of you who are getting dressed, even if you're staying in your house, they say maybe get up, get the routine going, get dressed, even if it's just to go from the bedroom to the couch or the kitchen or whatever. Kind of keep some semblance of normalcy, which is very necessary in a time like this when nothing really seems normal. But one thing you can count on during pandemics or whatever the weather is or whatever's going on, not really through technical issues because we can't broadcast with technical issues, but through everything else, we can find out the most important information that you'll get today that's non-coronavirus related, probably. It is the beachwear segment. We ask the most important question of the day: what are you wearing beach?
That's right. If you're all cooped up and you're thinking, man, phew, I should probably put some clothes on, take a
Should do
shower,
something.
maybe get stuck inside for a while, do something. Hopefully, this will give you a little bit of motivation. Because if you're asking, what are you wearing, Beach? This is it. This word. I'm heavy on a couple products, that's for sure. But the Kentucky Hemp Outfitters hats, it's a classic Kentucky Hemp Outfitters hat for sure. I've got the Ono tee with the hemp equals jobs. I kind of call this a classic tee at this point because I've had these for a while. I printed these up at least 6 or 7 years ago and love to wear them still because it's true. Hemp does equal jobs. I've got a pair of Kentucky Hemp Outfitter jeans, my favorite jeans out there. You can see my Green Spring Technologies pen as usual. Pair of Satori briefs, pair of Satori socks. Doubled up on almost everybody this week. And the Adidas Shell-Toed Classic. Again, those are quite an old pair of my Adidas Shell-Toe hemp collection as well. So trying to get green. Green's a good color. Feeling motivated wearing some green on a day where, the outside can't decide whether it's going to be what it's going to be. We're trying to get to spring. We were almost there. I forgot about my jacket because it is chillier here again this week, and they got my hemp hoodlam jacket on as well. Almost forgot about that because it is still now back to chilly, I should say, here in the area. And so, if you're trying to get to spring, still a little cold where you are. Now you know what I am wearing. What are you wearing, Beach? Segment. Not much going on in the old, like I said, news world. A little bit of stuff out there. It was interesting because Victory Hemp Foods just released something and reminding everyone that their food is safe. They're taking all the precautions when it comes to packaging and their employees and all that stuff to make sure that, and obviously that anybody that's packaging food products and doing it right, it should be a clean environment to start with.
Yeah.
I don't care if there's always a virus going on when it comes to food. There's always some bacteria or something. And so, they're basically just reminding one that just like all the other food product, they're taking all the precautions that they can to make sure that everything stays safe. So your hemp food, your hemp seed is still, in fact, that's weird. My video feed just went off. Hope we're still out there.
Yeah, we seem to be doing good here.
Okay, that's kind of weird. It could be maybe I hope my internet doesn't go down. I don't think my landline does. That's probably what it was. Anyway, lost my Wi-Fi on my unit. Ignore that. I'm still here. Your hemp food is still safe to eat, folks. That's a good food to have. Again, like I said, high in protein, omega-6, omega-3s, other minerals, fiber, and whatnot. Some good news for East Island hemp farmers. The charges were dropped. I don't know what the charges were, but apparently there were some East Icelanders who were growing industrial hemp, and they got arrested. And obviously, industrial hemp, all in all, is in fact legal in East Island because they got out of the charges once they proved that it was in fact industrial hemp. And so Iceland must be I'm going to look into it, a country where industrial hemp is in fact legal to grow. This is kind of interesting for the local sports fans out there. Looks like Carson Palmer is using CBD. If you don't know, Carson Palmer was our quarterback here for the Cincinnati Bengals for a long time. Long time. He was going to take us to a Super Bowl. The first year that he got hurt against those damn Steelers. Anyway, I was there.
Yep.
in such a quiet stadium after that. But anyway, that was our year. Didn't happen. He's a beloved character here, although he did come out and say that he never liked being here and he hated the Skyline Chili or something. But anyway, beside the point. He retired recently, but he said that when this whole COVID-19 isolation happened, he decided he was actually going to start lifting again. And so in the process of starting to lift again, he admitted that he is using a CBD cream to help with those workouts. And so Carson Palmer joins the long list of athletes that have admitted or are associated with a CBD product. He's probably trying to endorse it. I'm not saying he's not. But again, it is what it is, and it's good to see that, especially the athletes, because again, they wouldn't come out and endorse a product if it honestly didn't work. I don't think. I really don't believe that, and so I think that's why a lot of athletes are endorsing or getting into the CBD product. I saw Danica Patrick was another athlete that, you can say what you want about race car drivers, and I'm not a NASCAR fan, but if you don't think that they're at least in shape or, for the most part, their bodies are pretty well tuned, then you're misreading most of them. Because if you look at most successful NASCAR drivers, they're not heavy, that's for sure. They're usually pretty lean, and I can guarantee you have to be strong.
Yeah. 2 hours of
Strong
wrestling that car around it
to drive a
200 miles an
car
hour.
180 miles an hour. That's exactly. I don't care if they're left turns only, and maybe your left arm is a little stronger than your right arm. I don't know, but it is one of those things where I wrestle, but there is a defined winner. I have my own rules as to what is really a sport or not, and they are in machines, and so that takes it back a little bit. But they are athletic, and you have a defined winner, and so who knows? But anyway, on and on with the athletes and the whatnot. Actors, like again, we're seeing a lot of actors, a lot of people coming on in this, and so Carson Palmer is a recent, somewhat of a local. I can't call him a hero, although he was a good quarterback. He was a good quarterback.
He was.
And so, but again, we got this draft thing coming up. We may just get the best quarterback out there. We'll see. Not a hemp subject. I'm just saying. Hopefully he has hemp in his diet. He's a young kid. I doubt it, but I haven't seen his workout diet. We'll have to see once we draft him. Maybe we'll get a hold of his workout diet and see if there's any hemp seeds in there. I did see that there is, and I think they're using hemp, and I hope they're using hemp and not CBD. I know I mentioned last week that I found a hand sanitizer, that ended up just having CBD in it, and that's okay, but it's not really going with even moisturizing your hands. If you have arthritis or if you had pain in your hand, then I think the CBD would be good for that. But to me, I think I'd rather see hemp oil, and hopefully this one does. And I didn't check too long, but there's supposed to be a product on Amazon called Zaturail, Zatural, Hemp for Thieves, which I'm not sure what kind of name that is. Zaturail Hemp for Thieves. Now that I'm reading it, I'm thinking, man, these guys are probably shady as heck, because there's a lot of shadiness on Amazon right now. Let me tell you. I mean, I knew there was shadiness on Amazon before, when you go to buy a book and it's $199, but now there's some real shadiness going on with all the PPE stuff, which really just, makes me want to just really irk somebody that would pull any shadiness with that stuff. And so anyway, but it is supposed to be a water-based, I guess, hopefully with a little bit of hemp in there too, hand sanitizer. And we are considering more and more looking into possibly going ahead and mixing up our own. Uh, you know, whether we put a whole lot of hemp in it or not, I don't know. But anyway, hand sanitizer is not really that hard to make if you have the alcohol and some aloe and even a little bit of fragrance. That's really all you need. Um, and that's more for a gel. Now a spray, and I think this might have been more of a liquid spray, possibly. Now that's a little bit more technical, but as long as it's got the alcohol in it, I think, and water and probably some other things. The alcohol is the part that's important because the alcohol is what kills the germs, all in all. And so we're trying to do the best we can in all this time and supplying the employees with these products. Again, as much of the hemp based stuff as we can, but if not, then they get the other stuff too if we can find it. And it's really weird. I have noticed that a lot of the smokables companies are somehow they have hand sanitizers. A couple of them actually had face masks, which I think as soon as they announced that, they were gone or they donated them to something else. But hand sanitizer or sanitizer pads are something that they were selling before anyway, because people use them to clean their glass pipes with or their pipes. And so, it's kind of interesting once again how that stuff is out there in the world, in our world, unseen, so to speak, or not recognized until we needed it for something else, really.
Yeah.
And so, it is. Like I say, it's a crazy times. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. I can't say it enough. Got some crazy times going on. All right, well, that's about all the news we have. The first question that I saw, the headline, is hemp a vital resource in a time of crisis? And the answer to that headline is kind of a mixed answer because it depends on the crisis. They don't define what the crisis is. And this particular crisis, I think that yes, it can in a, not in a direct way, obviously, other than, again, we can make face masks and materials to protect ourselves out of hemp, which is good. And, hemp food, like I mentioned earlier, is a good resource for protein and all of those things. And so I think that I think that definitely hemp drinks, for that matter, water, food, clothing, you have cleaning materials. And so, we have a lot of soap, regardless, and it's not just because it's not an anti-sanitizer. The soap is really what you need to clean and then wash away. That's why washing your hands is really one of the best ways to do it, because it doesn't necessarily sanitize, so to speak. It removes. That's the point, especially when you wash your hands correctly. I know a lot of people say you should sing a song. I tell everyone to learn how to do a surgical scrub of your hands. If you learn how to do a surgical scrub of your hands, then they will be cleaned the way they should be cleaned. I think it's funny that they tell you to take a certain amount of time, just like they tell you to take a certain amount of time to brush your teeth. But you can sit there for 30 seconds and wash the exact same parts of your hands. The point of making is you wash in between, you wash up to the wrist. This is the way I was taught. I was taught a surgical scrub, even though my parents weren't surgeons or anything. My mom was just like, you're going to wash your hands, wash them right. And then you rinse in between all of those spots. And so it's better to know how to do something to know the amount of time it should take you to do something, because just because it takes you that amount of time doesn't mean you're doing it correctly. And so remember that when you're singing your song, Make your song. I'm gonna wash between my fingers. Whatever. They come up with a actual hand washing. I can't have. Has somebody not done that? Come up with a hand washing song
I was gonna say maybe you should
that's
work on that.
properly
Get the lyrics
properly
together and
shows you. Properly shows you how to wash your hands. Anyway, uh, and so I think it's pretty essential. I think that the hemp food, like I said, and those things are kind of secondary to the essential part of the CBD, which I didn't even mention. But I think for a lot of people, the stress of all of this, the CBD is helping them. And so, that's where I want to be and remain open and argue that we are, in fact, essential is for those products.
yeah,
And then I think the food and the water and the cleaning materials and all that's secondary, but still a need that people need. People need those things right now. And so I think that the more hemp we have available, the better off that society would be. So I do think that it's as a resource in this time of crisis, in a time of crisis, regardless of what that crisis could be. Um, the second headline that I saw was, "Is the hemp hype over?" And to be honest with you, the CBD hemp hype might be over, but I don't think we've gotten to the grain. I don't even think we're really there with the food products yet as far as the United States go. I think we're really going to see a huge hopefully increase in more hemp food products being available the more that we grow for grain here in the United States. Um, I think that I'm definitely the CBD has had its moment. It's kind of gone back to normality, even though it's still everywhere. Don't get me wrong, because CBD is going to be everywhere for a while, and so the hype might be done, but as far as longevity of the product being um, uh, put into everything and endorsed by everyone, that's going to go on, I think, for quite a while until everybody has CBD products, and it all gets worked out that way. Um, I think last year, all in all, was probably the biggest year for hemp to be the hype as far as farming, because it was such a vast amount that was being grown compared to years past, and there's a lot more controversy as to end product. Again, there was a lot of CBD, and so all of a sudden we have this overage. But then there was also the fields that tested hot, and those people had to destroy their entire farm work because the THC level was zero point 0.1 or 2.2 or zero point 0.3 too high or whatnot. None of it was because the THC content would be what we would want to actually call marijuana. And I think that's hopefully that's as we get the THC amount to go up in our industrial hemp products as far as the government, because again, there shouldn't be any limit as far as you don't trace it to the end product. Again, it doesn't make any difference how much THC is in a grain field, because there's not going to be any THC in the grain when you're done. And so, it's obviously the CBD is a big issue because people ingest that. If your THC starts to get too high, then obviously you have side effects that people don't want. And so, but for everything else, that shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. That's what we're trying to get to, obviously. But, that was the big thing with last year. And so I think this year, once again, we're going to see a lot more of people trying to make sure that they have the seed that's going to get them a plant that they can harvest in the fall. We're still going to see hot seed as a controversy when it happens. But I think last year was again, I think we're going to continue to grow more hemp and more hemp and more hemp and more hemp. But last year was really the year that it was the hype. Looking at the numbers from the previous year, so 2 years ago, as to what they wanted to get as far as money wise out of their CBD crop, which was huge numbers. And then everybody grew, and because of that, simple economics, folks. If they knew simple economics, they would have known this is how it works: supply and demand. And that affected the cost. We see a lot of costs coming down, and also why we seeing a lot of CBD showing up in places where it might not even need to be, because there's so much, and somebody did buy into the hype and add CBD to their air diffusers or whatever, pillows, things, and we're still seeing that. Trust me, we're still going to see products showing up that don't need CBD in them to begin with, but they will include CBD because it will be in everything. I've been saying it for years, and I'm going to keep saying it until I'm right, which is where I'm pretty close to. And so, when it comes to the hemp hype, I think, like I said, I think there's still some hopefully some hype left for the grain, maybe a little bit of hype left for the fiber. But I think all in all, it's kind of gone away. And again, hopefully we can get to normal, and then we can get some more regulations changed in favor of making this so there is no hype, because I guess it's, the hemp hype will exist, is actually treated like every other agricultural commodity out there. So we will see. But I think this year is going to be, a calm year for hemp. Because last year was such a crazy year. Not that it's not, again, we're going to see a lot of people doing their hemp thing, but I think it's just maybe, and again, obviously with everything going on with COVID-19, not that it should affect the farming industry as much. I think that that's going to help actually make things be more calm in the hemp industry, especially than it was last year. So we'll see. Keep moving on.
Indeed.
As always, folks, you can go to hemptations.com. We have a little bit of stuff there, obviously, to check out still. You can go to planeteverywhere.com. There's a link off of hemptations.com if you want to purchase online. Again, I have up that inventory a little bit for folks not wanting to come out or travel. And if there's anything you want me to add, please do. And you can find us everywhere. Thanks for watching. Hopefully, if you are quarantined, not for much longer, and the weather is good where you are, maybe you can get out and take a walk. And remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp.
Stay safe.
We'll be back next week for the Earth Day episode.
That's right.
I forgot to mention that. Next week's episode is on Earth Day. So
Very nice.
Join in for that. All right, I'm done. Peace.
Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you next week.